My brother demanded I pay for his honeymoon as my gift. When I refused, he uninvited me. Don't bother showing up. So I didn't. Neither did the catering company I owned. 300 guests, no food. His in-laws blamed him for the disaster. His wife filed for annulment. The wedding planner called me 17 times in 4 hours. I watched every call light up my phone. Watched her name, Sandra Whitmore, Whitmore Elite Events, flash across the screen again and again while I sat on my back porch, drinking a beer, watching the sunset paint the sky, the exact shade of orange I would have used for the creme brulee. The creme brulee that 300 guests weren't eating right now. By the 6th call, she stopped leaving voicemails. By the 12th, she started texting. By the 17th, the texts had devolved from professional panic to something closer to a hostage negotiation. Please, I'm begging you, there has to be something we can do. The grandmother just fainted. We called an ambulance. Derek, I know what happened between you and Ryan, but these guests didn't do anything wrong. That last one almost got me. Almost. Then I remembered what my brother said the last time we spoke. The exact words, the exact tone, the way he'd looked at me like I was something stuck to the bottom of his shoe. You're pathetic. I always knew you'd turn into this. Lose my number. So I finished my beer, turned off my phone, and let the most expensive wedding in county history burn to the ground. My name is Derek Okafor, 34 years old, owner and head chef of Okafor Catering, the largest wedding catering company in 3 counties, 15 full-time employees, a 4,000-square-foot commercial kitchen, exclusive contracts with 4 premium venues, a 2-year waitlist for peak season bookings. I built every inch of it myself. That's not a figure of speech. I literally built the prep tables in my first kitchen with lumber from Home Depot because I couldn't afford real ones. Slept in my food truck for 8 months because rent was a luxury I couldn't swing. Worked 18-hour days, 7 days a week for 3 years straight before I could afford to hire my first employee. I started this business at 23 with a beat-up 1998 Chevy P30 step van, 3 maxed-out credit cards, and a recipe for jerk chicken that my grandmother brought over from Kingston in 1962. No investors, no family money, no safety net, just me, a dream, and the kind of stubborn that doctors probably have a clinical term for. My family watched the whole thing happen from a distance with commentary. You're wasting your potential, Dad said when I dropped out of college to pursue cooking. A degree in business, that's security, that's a future. This food thing is a hobby. What happens when it fails? Mom asked every Thanksgiving for 5 years straight. What's your backup plan? You can't live in a truck forever, Derek. They never offered to help, never invested $1, never even showed up to taste the food until I'd already made it, until the newspaper had already written about me, until it became socially advantageous to claim they'd always believed in him. But my younger brother Ryan got everything. He's 2 years younger than me, golden child from birth. When I wanted to play football, Dad said we couldn't afford the equipment. When Ryan wanted to play, Dad bought him the full kit and drove him to every practice. When I needed money for college, Mom said I should learn the value of hard work and take out loans. When Ryan needed money for college, they refinanced the house. I'm not making this up. I have the loan documents. I paid off $47,000 in student debt for a degree I never finished. Ryan graduated debt-free with a BMW in the driveway, a graduation gift. He complained the car was the wrong color. That's Ryan, always wanting more, always getting it, always finding someone else to blame when things didn't go exactly his way. So when he got engaged to Brittany Harrington, I knew exactly how this was going to play out. The Harringtons were old money, not comfortable money, old money. The kind where the grandfather's grandfather's name is on a building at the university. The kind where summer is a verb. Brittany's father, Warren Harrington, owned 6 car dealerships across the metro area. Her mother, Diane, chaired 3 charity boards and had never worked a paying job in her life. They belonged to Pinehurst Country Club, which had a $75,000 initiation fee and a bloodline requirement that went back further than most people's family trees. Ryan had been dating Brittany for 2 years when he proposed. I'd met her exactly 3 times. She seemed nice enough, a little sheltered, a little naive, but not unkind. Just someone who'd never been told no and couldn't quite understand why anyone would. The engagement party was at the country club. I wasn't invited. It's a small gathering, Mom explained when I asked. Just immediate family and the Harringtons' closest friends, you understand. I understood perfectly, but 6 months before the wedding, I got a phone call that changed everything. It was Diane Harrington herself, voice like honey poured over crushed glass. Derek, I've heard absolutely wonderful things about your catering company. The Wentworths used you for their daughter's wedding last fall, and Margaret couldn't stop raving. We want the best for Brittany's special day, and apparently that's you. I was professional, quoted her my rates, explained my process, sent over sample menus and a detailed proposal within 24 hours. She called back the next day. This is perfect. Exactly what we envisioned. Warren and I would like to move forward. We scheduled a tasting for the following week. I brought my A-game, seared scallops with citrus beurre blanc, beef tenderloin with truffle demi-glace, a 7-tier vanilla bourbon cake that took me 14 hours to perfect. Diane cried actual tears when she tasted the cake. "This is it," she said, clutching her husband's arm. "This is exactly what I've been dreaming of for Brittany." We signed the contract that afternoon. Standard terms. $42,000 total. $15,000 non-refundable deposit due immediately, with the balance due 30 days before the event. Warren Harrington wrote the check without blinking. What I didn't know, what no one bothered to tell me, was that Ryan had pitched a different story entirely. The first sign of trouble came 3 weeks later. I was in my office, finalizing vendor orders, when Ryan's name lit up my phone. We hadn't spoken in almost 4 months. The last conversation had been at Mom's birthday dinner, where he'd made a pointed comment about how some people value money over family, because I'd declined to give him a loan for his honeymoon. I answered anyway. Blood is blood, or so I thought. "Derek, no hello, no how are you, just my name, flat and expectant." "Ryan, what's up?" "Just calling about the wedding. Wanted to make sure we're on the same page." "Same page about what?" "The Harringtons and I have been in touch. Everything's on track." Pause, then, "Right, about that. I told Brittany's parents that the catering was my gift to them, that you were doing it for free." I actually laughed. Thought he was joking. "Ryan, the contract is for $42,000. They already paid the deposit. So give it back." His voice was clipped, annoyed, like I was being deliberately difficult. "You're my brother. This is my wedding. The catering is your gift." "My gift? Ryan, do you have any idea what this event costs me? Labor alone is $11,000. Food costs another $8,000. Equipment rental, transportation, insurance. I don't care about your costs. Figure it out." "Figure it?" I stopped, took a breath, tried to remember that this was my brother. "Ryan, I can't work for free. I have employees to pay. This is my business. And I'm your family. Family helps family. When have you ever helped me?" Silence. Heavy. Loaded. "You know what your problem is, Derek? You've always been jealous of me. Always. And now that I'm finally getting something good, something I actually deserve, you can't stand it." "I'm not jealous, Ryan. I'm just not going to give you $40,000 because you decided to lie to your in-laws. It's not a lie. It's a gift. Brothers do that. Not this brother." He hung up. Within 2 hours, the family machine kicked into gear. Mom called first. "Derek, I just got off the phone with Ryan. He's very upset. Did he tell you what he asked me to do?" "He said you're refusing to cater his wedding." "I'm refusing to cater it for free. There's a difference." "Derek," her voice dropped into that disappointed register I knew so well. "This is your brother's special day, the most important day of his life, and you're really going to let money come between you?" "Mom, it's $42,000. It's food. You make food all the time. What's one more event?" I gripped the phone so hard my knuckles went white. "One more event is 300 guests, 20 staff members working 12-hour shifts, and enough product to fill 2 refrigerated trucks. It's not a backyard barbecue. You're being dramatic. Your father and I are very disappointed." Dad called the next morning. Same script, different performer. "What's this I hear about you and Ryan? Did you hear the part where he wants me to work for free?" "I heard the part where you're embarrassing this family in front of the Harringtons. Do you know how hard your brother worked to get in with them? And now you're going to ruin it over what? Pride?" "It's not pride, Dad. It's business. I have payroll. I have vendors. I can't just—" "You've always had a chip on your shoulder, Derek. Always thought the world owed you something. Maybe if you'd finished your degree." I hung up. Over the next 3 weeks, I received calls from 6 aunts, 4 uncles, my grandmother, 2 of Ryan's college friends, and a cousin I hadn't spoken to since we were teenagers, all delivering the same message. I was selfish, greedy, vindictive. Uncle Emmanuel called at 11 p.m. on a Thursday. "Derek, your father is worried about you. He thinks you might have some mental issues. This obsession with money, it's not healthy." My grandmother, 87 years old, the woman who taught me to cook, whose jerk chicken recipe built my entire career, called to tell me she was ashamed. "Family is everything, Derek. Without family, you have nothing." Is this really the man I raised? I tried explaining, every time. Tried to lay out the math, the logistics, the sheer impossibility of what they were asking. Nobody cared, because in my family, Ryan's comfort mattered more than my survival. Always had, always would. I made one final attempt, called Ryan directly, swallowed every ounce of pride I had left. "I'll do it at cost. $22,000. Not $1 of profit. That's a 50% discount. Final offer." Silence. Then, "You're unbelievable. Your own brother's wedding, and you're still trying to squeeze money out of it." "Ryan, cost means I don't make anything. I'm offering to work for free, just covering what I have to pay other people. Not good enough. Then what do you want?" "I want you to stop being a selfish piece of shit for once in your life. I want you to care about something other than yourself. But I guess that's too much to ask from someone like you, someone like me. The brother who built something from nothing while he was handed everything. The brother who worked himself to exhaustion while he complained about the color of his free BMW. Someone like me. Ryan, save it. If you can't support me on the most important day of my life, then don't bother showing up. You're uninvited, and don't contact me again." The line went dead, and something in me went cold. I waited 72 hours. 3 days of sitting with what had happened. 3 days of replaying every conversation, every accusation, every moment where I'd been painted as the villain for refusing to be exploited. Then I called my lawyer, Marcus Pemberton, Pemberton Legal Group, 17 years specializing in contract law. He'd handled my corporate formation, my vendor agreements, my liability insurance. assurance. He knew my business inside and out. Marcus, I need your opinion on something. He listened as I explained the situation. The contract, the deposit, the family pressure, the uninvitation. When I finished, he was quiet for a moment. So, your brother signed the original inquiry form that led to this contract? Yes. The Harringtons paid the deposit, but Ryan was the one who initially reached out. And now he's uninvited you from the wedding and told you to lose his number. His exact words. In writing? I have the texts. More silence. Then, Derek, you have options here. Let me pull the contract and call you back in an hour. True to his word, Marcus called back in 53 minutes. Okay, here's where we are. Your contract is with Brittany and Warren Harrington. They're the paying parties. Ryan isn't technically on the contract, but his initial communication, requesting services on their behalf, could establish him as their agent for purposes of this agreement. Meaning his directive to not show up, combined with his hostile communications, could reasonably be interpreted as a termination of services by the contracting party. Could be. Would need a judge to rule on it. But here's the thing. Your contract has a standard termination clause. Either party can terminate with written notice. If you terminate, you're required to return the deposit minus reasonable expenses incurred to date. I'd already spent about $4,000 on initial vendor deposits and menu development. That left $11,000. What about the Harringtons? They didn't do anything wrong. You're not obligated to terminate, but you're also not obligated to work in a hostile environment. If you're genuinely concerned about your ability to perform professionally given the circumstances, Marcus, my brother told me to lose his number. I'm not sure I can be around him right now without, I trailed off. Without what? Without something happening that would be bad for everyone. Marcus sighed. Then I'd recommend a clean termination. Return most of the deposit. Document your reasoning. Be professional. What the family does with that information is their business. I drafted the letter that night. Formal, detailed, devastating. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Harrington, it is with sincere regret that I must inform you of Okafor Catering's withdrawal from the catering contract for the wedding of Ryan Okafor and Brittany Harrington, scheduled for August 14th. This decision follows a series of communications from the groom in which he has made it clear that my presence and participation in the wedding are unwanted. On date, Mr. Ryan Okafor sent the following message: don't bother showing up. You're uninvited. This followed multiple earlier communications demanding that I provide $42,000 in professional services without compensation, including statements such as, "You're pathetic. I always knew you'd turn into this. Lose my number." Given these circumstances, I do not believe I can fulfill my contractual obligations in a professional and appropriate manner. I am therefore terminating our agreement effective immediately, pursuant to Section 7.2 of the signed contract. Please find enclosed a refund check in the amount of $11,000, representing your $15,000 deposit minus $4,000 in non-recoverable expenses already incurred on your behalf. A detailed accounting of these expenses is attached as Exhibit A. I have also attached as Exhibit B screenshots of the relevant communications from Mr. Ryan Okafor. I apologize for any inconvenience this may cause and wish you and your daughter all the best for her special day. Sincerely, Derek Okafor, owner, Okafor Catering. I sent it certified mail, return receipt requested. Made sure they'd have to sign for it 3 weeks before the wedding, peak summer season. The Harringtons received my letter on a Tuesday. Diane called me 47 minutes later. I let it go to voicemail. Derek, this is Diane Harrington. I've just received your letter and her voice cracked. Please, there has to be some misunderstanding. We didn't know anything about what Ryan said. Warren and I would never, please call me back, please. She called 3 more times that day. I didn't answer. Warren called the next morning, left a voicemail that started professional and ended threatening. Mr. Okafor, this is Warren Harrington. I've reviewed your letter and frankly, I find it unacceptable. We have a contract. You have obligations. If you refuse to honor them, my attorneys will be in touch. However, long pause. If there's been some miscommunication between you and Ryan, I'd like to discuss it before we involve lawyers. Please call me at your earliest convenience. His attorneys did call. A woman named Jennifer Castellano from Morrison & Associates, one of the big downtown firms. She was surprisingly reasonable. Mr. Okafor, I've reviewed the contract and your termination letter. Frankly, if the communications from the groom are as you've documented, you likely have a defensible position. But my clients are primarily interested in resolving this situation amicably. Is there any possibility of re-engaging your services? I don't think that would be appropriate, even if the Harringtons were to mediate between you and Ryan. Ms. Castellano, my brother told me to lose his number and uninvited me from his wedding. That's not a misunderstanding. That's a statement of how he feels about me. I understand. Then let me ask this. Can you recommend any alternative caterers who might be available on short notice? I actually tried to help with this. Called every competitor I knew. Everyone was booked. Peak season. 3 weeks notice. It was impossible. I'm sorry, I told her. I reached out to 8 companies. Nobody has availability. That was the last I heard from the legal side. My family's reaction was exactly what I expected. Mom called screaming. Actually screaming. I had to hold the phone away from my ear. How could you do this? How could you humiliate your brother in front of those people? They're going to think we're trash. Hush, they're going to think, Mom, did you read what Ryan said to me? I don't care what he said. He's your brother. You're supposed to be the bigger person. Why? Why am I always supposed to be the bigger person? Why am I always supposed to sacrifice so Ryan can have what he wants? Because that's what family does. No, Mom, that's what I do. And I'm done. Dad sent a text. Just one. You are no longer my son. I stared at that message for a long time. Then I saved it. Screenshot. Cloud backup. Because I knew I'd need it someday. August 14th arrived hot and bright. 95 degrees by noon. Record heat for the third straight day. The kind of weather that makes outdoor events a logistical nightmare even with proper planning. I spent the morning in my garden, weeding, watering, trying not to think about 300 people in formal wear, wilting in the sun, waiting for food that wasn't coming. My phone started buzzing around 4 p.m. Cousin Marcus, who I'd stayed close with despite everything. He was at the wedding, sending updates. Dude, there's no food. Then, people are getting restless. Ceremony ended an hour ago. Nothing but drinks. Then, Ryan is telling everyone the caterer backed out last minute. He's blaming you. Then, the Harringtons don't look like they believe him. I put my phone down, went back to my tomatoes. The real updates came the next day, when Marcus called to give me the full account. It was the most spectacular disaster I've ever seen, Marcus said, and he wasn't laughing. Like, I felt bad even being there. The ceremony had been beautiful. Perfect, actually. Garden venue, string quartet, Brittany in a dress that probably cost more than my first food truck. Then the reception started. Cocktail hour came and went with nothing but a bar serving drinks. The Harringtons had assumed Ryan had arranged a backup. Ryan had assumed someone else would fix it. Nobody had fixed anything. By 6 p.m., 300 guests in formal wear were hungry, dehydrated, and increasingly vocal about it. People started ordering pizza on their phones, Marcus said. I'm not joking. Domino's delivery guys started showing up to a $200,000 wedding. One of them asked if he could take a picture for his Instagram. Brittany's grandmother, 81 years old, passed out from low blood sugar. Someone called an ambulance. It showed up with lights and sirens right in the middle of what should have been the first dance. That's when Warren lost it. Warren Harrington had been a calm, controlled man all day. But watching his mother-in-law get loaded into an ambulance while delivery drivers handed out pizza boxes finally broke something in him. He grabbed Ryan by the arm, in front of everyone. You told us the catering was handled. Warren's voice carried across the entire reception. You told us your brother was doing it as a gift. You told us everything was under control. Ryan tried to defend himself, tried to blame me, called me vindictive, jealous, sabotaging. But Warren had my letter. He'd brought it with him. He pulled out the screenshots of Ryan's texts, the ones I'd attached as Exhibit B, and read them aloud. You're pathetic. I always knew you'd turn into this. Lose my number. That's what you sent your brother. After demanding $42,000 in free services, Ryan went pale. And you did this. Warren gestured at the chaos around them. You did this rather than apologize, rather than make it right. You let this happen to my daughter on her wedding day because you were too proud to admit you were wrong. Brittany stood behind her father, mascara streaming down her face, watching the man she'd married 3 hours ago get dressed down in front of everyone they knew. She didn't say a word. She didn't have to. The marriage lasted 11 days. Brittany filed for annulment on August 25th. Her grounds, fraud and misrepresentation. Her attorney argued that Ryan had consistently lied about his financial situation, his family relationships, and his ability to contribute to their life together. The annulment was granted in October. I know this because Jennifer Castellano called to tell me. I thought you should hear it from someone, she said. And for what it's worth, I reviewed everything after the wedding. You made the right call. Nobody should have to work for someone who treats them the way your brother treated you. Thank you. One more thing. The Harringtons wanted me to pass along a message. What's that? They said they're sorry for putting you in that position, for not seeing what Ryan was doing earlier. Warren said to tell you that if you're ever catering an event they're attending, they'll make sure to request you specifically. I didn't know what to say. They're good people, Jennifer continued. They just had a blind spot when it came to their daughter's fiancé. Most parents do. Ryan hasn't spoken to me since. Neither have my parents. Dad blocked my number after the wedding. Mom sends the occasional guilt trip through relatives. Your mother cries every night over what you did, but won't reach out directly. I'm okay with that. Here's what I've learned. Family isn't blood. Family is the people who show up for you, who support you, who want to see you succeed without expecting you to sacrifice yourself for their comfort. By that definition, I don't have much family, but I have my business, my employees, my friends, my life that I built with my own hands, without help from anyone who was supposed to love me.